right, hey restorers, welcome to a fresh episode of the Main Street Restorer. We are recording episode 5. You are here to listen in today. This has been a great series so far. We've talked about a lot of different aspects of being what we would consider a Main Street Restorer, which is the bulk of the industry. So Gokul, welcome back to another episode. Today we're going to talk about what it means to be on financial offense. So that's kind of an interesting term that you have in a book that you are working on right now. But first, I'm going to ask you two questions to start. First, who do you consider to be the Main Street Restorer that's listening to this podcast? And then two, let's jump into what you think, what you say financial offense means.
Yeah, so thanks for that. So, depending on who you ask, 25,000 restoration companies in our industry,
Yep.
give or take, depending on who you ask and at which conference, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Around 25,000. So less than maybe 20% of that are revenues over $10 million.
Mm-hmm.
They're the private equity guys that everybody talks about, and rightfully so. They've built some great companies. But I think it's really important to recognize that, there are family businesses. I mean, most of restoration is family-owned businesses, even though there's been so much talk about mergers and acquisitions and private equity, and it's been getting so much oxygen in the room. But you got to understand that most of restoration is a family that's running it, 4 million, 5 million in revenue, 3 million in revenue. Maybe they have one location, maybe two in a city. They have their husband and wife running it. They have sometimes their kids involved.
Yep.
That's what the real restoration market looks like under the hood. And
Yes.
That's what the Main Street Restorer is, right? And
Yep.
so this strategy of the second question, the strategy of financial offense, of financial discipline. So when we went and looked at companies, we went and interviewed all the restoration companies as part of what we do for a living. We talked to owners and we look deep inside these companies like every day from just what we do for a living. So what are the best of the best doing, right? And that's where this financial offense concept came from. So it doesn't matter the size of the business. I'm talking about just healthy companies, whether you're 2 million in revenue or 200 million in revenue. They all have a certain financial offense that they play, in the sense they're so proactive around everything around finance, around their business.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that are not the top of the top, right, are very reactive. Right. So let's break that down. That makes sense?
Yep.
So
Yep.
what does financial offense mean? One is you got to recognize that accounting and finance is the language of business.
Yeah.
Listen, let's put all our feelings aside and warm blankets and everything aside. If you are going to run your business and run it profitably and take care of your family and your employees, you have to attack the financial question. Okay? The age-old talk, I'm a restorer, I'm not a finance guy. This is a bunch of crap. I'm sorry. You're going to learn how to do finance.
Yep.
You're going to learn how to do it. You don't have to be an accountant, but you got to know some basic stuff. So there's the first assumption. Okay, go watch a few YouTube videos. At basics, you want to know what a profit and loss statement is.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know cash accounting versus accrual accounting.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know the difference between running your business through a checking account or a checkbook and running your business through your financial statements.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what most of Main Street restorers do.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to look at those things. So here's how we see the best of the best doing. Most of them have an outside person doing their books. It's not done in-house. They're cheap. You don't have to go get a big CPA firm. You don't have to do any. Just get a bookkeeper. Just a bookkeeper who knows QuickBooks.
Yep.
Have them do your books. Okay? 2, meet with them every week. I do it in my firm. Lisa knows is on this call, and every Friday at 10 o'clock, I meet with my bookkeeper.
Mm-hmm. I meet with mine every Monday at 9. So, yep.
15 years I've been doing it. Okay,
Yep.
meet with your bookkeeper, and here's how I do it. You can copy this. I meet with him. We get on Zoom. I download all of my bank statements, all the entries, into QuickBooks. I categorize everything with my bookkeeper. So that's step number one. Why do I want to do that? Because then every expense that you're downloading from your bank statement is categorized properly. It
Hmm.
only takes me 15 minutes. There's maybe 30 transactions.
Yep.
I go through payroll, right? I go through everything. And doing this exercise and going entry by entry with my bookkeeper on Zoom and downloading everything and putting it in QuickBooks, it kind of gives registers in my mind where I'm spending my money. It's not
Hmm.
somebody doing it for me and me just looking at it at the end of the quarter, on a phone call, having a cup of tea. No, no, no. It's 1 hour every week. Let's do it. That's your first one. The
Hmm.
second is I look at P&Ls for the month, compare that to my budget and my forecast. That's the
Hmm.
second I do. So I want to make sure, am I on target or am I spending more money than I intended to in certain situations? And if so, are they legitimate or do I need to cut back? I look at that quite a lot.
Hmm.
And then I look at my WIP reports, right? I look at the next 4 weeks, 5 weeks. What's happening? What's going to come in? How much money we think we're going to bring in versus how much we're going to spend.
Hmm.
Those are the three things that you want to do every week. And that's the financial discipline that we're going to do, right? So then let me also kind of give you a golden nugget that we're starting to really find out is when you look at the revenue number, one of the KPIs that I want all Main Street restorers to track is revenue per employee. Okay. Because
Hmm.
in our industry, like everyone says, oh, we're going to hit 3 million in revenue, we're going to hit 4 million in revenue. But I have seen so many companies. I saw one yesterday with $7.5 million in revenue running at a 3.5% profit margin.
Ugh.
Why?
Yeah.
So how do you combat that? Always look at revenue per employee. That means you take the amount of revenue you're going to create for the month, for the quarter, for the year, and just simply divide it by the number of employees that you have. And you need to include all employees, okay, including yourself. If your husband or wife works in the business, you include them. All your office staff is included in it. All your technicians, your field staff, everybody's included in it.
Hmm.
Okay. And you do revenue per employee.
Okay.
That gives you how efficient your business is.
Okay.
And then you go, well, okay, Gokul, what does that look like? And I think you're going to put a graphic on this video later
Yep.
on. That's
Yep.
fine. But I'll tell you, in the early stage, you need to be around $50 to $100,000 of revenue per employee.
Hmm.
If you're in a growth stage, you need to be between 100 to 200,000 per employee. And then if you're more a mature stage, 5 million in revenue, somewhere between 5 and 10 million in revenue, you need to be about 200,000 to 500,000, just depending on where you are per employee. So those are the things that I look every Friday, and that's playing financial offense. And as uncomfortable as it is, and it's a new habit, I will guarantee you that come Saturday and going into the weekend, you will sleep better. Even if it is bad news, you will sleep better because now you know
Yes.
what kind of action you're going to take.
Yes.
Does it make sense? So that's what playing financial offense is.
Perfect. Okay. So I have.
And by the way, this is what the best of the best are doing today.
Mhm.
Okay. This is rock solid, airtight research. This is what the best of the best are doing. This is the process that they're following. So yeah, you can copy it.
So what would it look like? I'm sure you've gone into companies, maybe that 3.5% company is an example. We're talking about financial offense. What does it look like if you're on the financial defense?
So financial defense means you've got no set way of looking at your financials. Okay.
Yep.
And the biggest mistake that people make in financial defense is they become reactory. Okay. So basically, they look at their checking account and they look like they got 50,000 in there, 100,000, and they think the company is doing well. So they operate their business from their checking account as opposed to their accrual financial statements. So let's say you did a $500,000 job in Q3
Hmm.
and you spend all this money. If you look at your checking account, it's going to be showing, it's going to give you false data. It's going to tell you you're not doing well because
Yeah.
you're spending a lot of money. You haven't received some of those draws in, or maybe you received one draw on a job or whatever, right? And then if you look in your checking account Q4, you're going to be doing fantastic
Hmm.
because maybe you collected that money. but
Yep.
they're both incorrect information on how the business is doing. This is what how reactive people are. They run everything but their bank account, and that's not how to run a business. The best of the best are running it out of profit and loss statements, and of course, QuickBooks is like the standard that everybody uses. Uh,
Hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of other ones out there, I'm sure, but QuickBooks seems to be the standard like a lot of people use. And
Yep.
so that's where you want to be. And you want to get somebody from the outside to help you do it. It's a 1 hour meeting a week.
Yes. And worth it.
Oh,
Um,
it's going to give you so much returns on your money. It's going to give you peace of mind. It's going to help you make decisions. It's going to go into the weekend, help you be more present with your family if things are going okay. It's kind of like a financial house. You clean it up before the weekend, or it's like it's like a car. You wash it and wax it, or whatever you do before the weekend, and now it feels nice and clean for you to get in. And
mhm.
that's what you want to do. You don't want to avoid it. You want to get in there and do it. It's a lot easier than what people think.
This is also a good point of, getting paid is such a huge pain point in the industry right now. And so if you know your financials and understand them from the accrual perspective, it's going to be easier when payments are slow and you're trying to get stuff from the carriers to
Right,
weather those moments when things aren't going the way that you think or need them to go.
right, right. And if all these accounting terms like accrual and cash and all that is kind of making you dizzy, that's okay. Just get a bookkeeper. Just follow the process and get a bookkeeper and let them worry about it. And you just sit with them and you just say, show me
Yeah.
on Zoom what are estimates, what are forecasts, and where we are. And they'll pull all those reports for you in real time. You just ask them for it. How are we doing on our WIP? How are we doing on our profit and loss statements? Right?
Mhm.
And what is the forecast going in the next 4 to 6 weeks? And let them show you everything. It's 1 hour a week.
Yep.
It'll do wonders for you. If there's one tip in this entire thing that you can take, it would be this one.
It would be this one, financial
It would
offense.
be this
Okay.
one, yes. And this is really the only difference, really, not the only, but this is probably the number one difference between companies that are doing well and are healthy and companies that are not. A lot of people think it's revenue,
Hmm.
but from what we see, it's really not. We've seen companies with 3 million in revenue, highly profitable. We've seen companies with 7 million in revenue, barely making it.
Yes.
Revenue doesn't seem to be the number one problem. It really seems to be this concept and this habit of looking at your financials and making small adjustments. And when people don't do it, things just creep up and you just don't know where it's coming from, what's happening. And then before you know it, you're not making enough money. And I've seen people who don't have this kind of discipline who are reactionary to it. They'll say, Gokul, I got all this revenue, but I'm sick and tired of this. What's
Hmm.
going on? That's when you tell them, okay, just start with one meeting a week and it'll change everything.
Yes. I fully agree with that one. Okay. Well, for everybody listening, thank you for tuning in. We are going to be talking about the 7 emotions of selling on the next episode. If you've
Ooh,
missed some of
good
the
one.
past episodes, I know. If you've missed some of the past episodes, you can go to cnrmagazine.com. You can go to our YouTube. You can go to any of your favorite podcast platforms and look for Restoration Today. It comes up in bonus episodes on the Restoration Today feed. You can probably find them on the RBA website if you want to find out more about RBA. It's rbasells.com. Gokul, thank you very much for being here. Anything you want to add before we wrap this one?
And I'm telling you, if you're watching this and you're not doing it, start it today. Just go find a bookkeeper, your local bookkeeper, and just start meeting with that person once a week. And it will transform the profitability of your business.
Agreed. If you're afraid of it, go for it because you're going to be able to overcome that fear after a few meetings. And if there are things that need to be straightened out, better to start straightening them out now than continue to be on the defense.
Correct.
Yes. All right.
Let's
Thanks,
do it.
Gokul.